People ask me, why do you love roller coasters? It's not just the coasters. It's because they force you to travel. They force you to see things that maybe you wouldn't. And that's what it's about. The thrill of the chase. And as of today, I have ridden 632 American roller coasters. Yeah, that is quite a bit. And that means that this second annual Top 52 list is going to represent the top 8% of all roller coasters I've ridden in this country. And this is probably a good time to let you know about The Park After Dark, my all-new podcast where I have on different content creators from the roller coaster and theme park space to talk about a variety of topics at least once a week. Now, this list has no inverts, no flyers, no suspended, no floorless coasters. For the first time ever, not one of those made this list. Also, no defunct rides, so no Ka, and no SBNO, so no Top Thrill 2, no Steel Curtain. So, as a disclaimer, this is my list and my opinions. We don't need to agree, but we do need to keep it respectful. So, kicking off, number 52, Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm. And as you see this lighting package here, guys, it's pretty easy to understand how this made the list. This is, in my opinion, the second best Gerstlauer in America. The lap bars can be problematic sometimes, but it was okay for me. Number 51, Lightning Rod. This RMC, for many people, at some point in time, was their number one coaster. Now, I don't see it, and I never have. But it's still a pretty damn good ride. And head out to Dollywood, check it out if you haven't. Number 50, going to Six Flags St. Louis and Six Flags over Texas for Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast and Mr. Freeze, I guess, Standard Blast, depending on how Texas is running it this year. And you know what? Good ride, but it did drop a little for me this year. Number 49, Lightning Run. We're on our way, guys, to Louisville and Kentucky Kingdom for this Chance Rides Hyper GTX model. And this is a great ride. You'll notice the track looks pretty reminiscent of the Steel Phantom and the Phantom's Revenge, and that is because it was a Dana Morgan coaster. So, number 48, American Thunder. We are back to Six Flags St. Louis for this GCI, and this twister layout is pretty damn good. I gotta say, this reminds me of kind of like a mini Thunderhead, and that is not a bad thing. Moving on to 47, we're in Pennsylvania, my home state, and in Elysburg, Pennsylvania, at Knoebels for Phoenix. And this classic Woody is it's an airtime machine, guys. Still uses the buzz bars to its advantage. And is it the best wooden roller coaster in the world? No, but it's still great. Number 46, Cornball Express. And we are off to Monticello, Indiana, guys, for this CCI Classic. Now, this is one of the shorter layouts for CCI, but don't let that fool you. This is packed with airtime and laterals. Number 45, heading to New Jersey. You'll notice there are no drones flying overhead, so obviously this POV was not taken recently. Little joke there. But Nitro, absolute banger of a B&M Hypercoaster. One of the better examples of the model. Number 44, back to Kentucky Kingdom in Louisville for Storm Chaser. And this ground up RMC, when I had ridden it at first, it was cold, it was slow, it was a little disappointing. Had an opportunity to ride it in the heat. Absolute blazer of a coaster. Great ride. Cannot recommend enough. 43, Six Flags Great America in Gurnee, Illinois, right outside of Chicago for Max Force. And this S&S pressurized launch coaster sets the world record for the fastest inversion taken. And pretty cool ride, pretty decent layout, even though it's short. Number 42, we are up in New England and headed to Funtown, Splashtown, USA in Saco, Maine for Excalibur. Another CCI classic wooden roller coaster recently with a full retrack utilizing Gravity Group pre-cut prefab, and boy, is this a banger. Number 41, we are off to Carowinds, where the Carolinas meet, y'all, and Copperhead Strike, a Mock Rides multi-launch coaster. A lot of people disappointed with the lack of punch, but I always love to remind you, if it packed more punch, you wouldn't get that hang time, and that's part of the glory of Copperhead Strike. Number 40, we are up to Lake George in Corfu, New York, and we are taking a look at Comet at Six Flags The Great Escape. And Comet, this classic Woody, one of the longer PTC roller coasters ever built, and boy, is it a good one. Number 39, Verbolten. They say it's a family coaster, but I mean, is it really? With a layout this good and a ride that packs so much excitement, it's hard for me to just call this a standard family coaster. It is just so much more than that. And Verbolten at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg is absolutely a banger of a family ride. Moving on to number 38, the other family coaster, quote unquote, to make this list, Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, located at Islands of Adventure, Universal Orlando. And this Intamin multi-launch is amazing, and don't let the ending catch you off guard. Little teaser. Number 37 is going to be Thunderbird. We are all the way in Indiana, in Santa Claus, Indiana, to be more specific, for Holiday World and their B&M launched wing coaster. And this is by far my favorite wing in America. We'll see how Rapterra does when it opens. Number 36, back in my home state of Pennsylvania, for one of the best Woodies in America, Ravine Flyer 2. This Gravity Group banger from 2007, man, it just keeps thrilling guests year in and year out with that airtime pop right over the road. Mwah. Number 35, Powder Keg. We are in Missouri, guys, and we are in the Ozarks, in Branson, the live music capital of the world for Powder Keg. This S&S pressurized launch coaster is a convert of an old Premier Rides water coaster. What a cool ride, cool layout. Number 34, we're staying in Missouri, but we are headed north and to the west to Kansas City and Worlds of Fun for Prowler, a GCI that really was one of the foundation pieces for Mystic Timbers, one of the better coasters this company had ever built. Number 33, we're sticking in Missouri yet again. We're going back down south to Branson, and we are at Outlaw Run, an RMC topper track. And boy, oh boy, guys, this coaster brings the heat. Not like Grandpa's traditional Woody, I will tell you that. Moving on to number 32, I have Renegade at Valley Fair. And man, this is such a unique GCI. That first drop, it's the only one like it in the world the GCI had ever produced. And the amazing pops of airtime all through this layout. Absolute banger. Moving on to number 31, New Texas Giant. This guy's maybe one of the bigger surprises of my list. When I started breaking down and analyzing the numbers, I could not believe how high New Texas Giant ranked for me in 2024. One of the bigger coaster surprises of the season. Number 30, the Monster, located at Adventureland in Altoona, Iowa. Now this, guys, this is the best Gerstlauer in America, hands down, far and away. I mean, hang time is good, but you got to get a lot better to be the Monster good. Moving on to number 29, Millennium Force, the OG Giga Coaster. Man, it's a great ride, but comparatively rated next to its peers, in my opinion, it's probably the bottom of the barrel of the Gigas at this point. Moving on to number 28, Mystic timbers. And as aforementioned, this was the afterthought of Renegade and of Prowler from GCI. And this is a great layout, deep into the woods, good airtime, and beware of that shed. Number 27, Wicked Cyclone. And boy, Wicked Cyclone is wicked good. Rating just a little bit higher than its predecessor in New Texas Giant. Wicked Cyclone has a great layout, and if you catch it later in the day, it even finishes the layout with a great bit of steam. Moving on to number 26, Twisted Timbers. There was one RMC just a little higher than Wicked Cyclone on my list, and even though this has a shorter layout, I have to give a lot of credit where credit is due. And Twisted Timbers, one of the best first drops of any RMC, with that little inverted dive. And
blessed mother of pearl, subscribe to the channel, please. Maybe give a like to the video. We sure would appreciate it. Don't be a chooch.
All right, back into it. Number 25, Orion. Guys, there's a lot of hate for this ride. I hear people call it Onion 287. Listen, it's a giga. It's a banger. And you come into that brake run with such a full head of steam. I would have loved to have seen an extra couple 100 feet, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. Number 24, we are down in Orlando at SeaWorld for Pipeline, the surf coaster. Last year, this made it into my top 30, and we're back in the top 25 this year. Man, it's just so hard to dislike this ride. It's so good. Number 23, Texas Stingray. We're moving over into the state of Texas, into San Antonio, at SeaWorld San Antonio for their newest GCI Woody. And this being the newest GCI Woody in America, I didn't have the highest expectations, but man, did it blow me away. Number 22, Diamondback. And, this is a great example of the B&M Hypermodel. Probably the greatest example, but it is getting a little bit rough. And this iconic splashdown, man, it's still so enjoyable. Moving on to number 21, Pantherian, or Project 305, or I-305, whichever one you kind of want to call it. But I will say Pantherian is an absolutely awful name. What a terrible choice. They literally could have picked just about anything else and it would have been better. Moving on to number 20, El Toro. A fairly precipitous drop this year for El Toro. We are definitely in need of some track work and track maintenance work. Now, I know the crew here on an annual basis does their absolute best to keep this thing running in tip-top shape, but sometimes you just got to do some major work, and that time is now. Number 19, Steel Vengeance. Now, I know some of you are probably asking, how could I have the best coaster in the world all the way down at 19? And, well, I agree with you. At one point in time, this was the best coaster in the world, but things have changed. After, 6 years of additional coasters coming out, new technology, new design language, it's got to fall. Number 18, Fury 325. And this B&M Giga is insane. I had the pleasure of riding it directly before, and after the crack on that pillar. And boy, there is a huge difference. The ride was running slow. Not anymore. Number 17, Storm Runner, the best Intamin accelerator coaster still operating today. And truth be told, even when Ka was running, I still had Storm Runner rated higher. The extended layout really adds to the coaster for me. I don't know about you. Number 16, the Voyage. When you talk about great wooden roller coasters, you can't have that conversation without bringing the Voyage into it. This is the second longest wooden coaster experience in the world, number 2 only to the classic Beast at Kings Island, and man, this is an insane night ride. The Voyage, what a banger. Number 15, back down to South Florida in Orlando and SeaWorld for Mako. Now, I did say that Diamondback may be the best example of the B&M Hyper model, but as far as modern B&M goes, I'm not sure they've made a better coaster, period, than Mako. This is the best running hyper coaster in America. Phenomenal. Number 14, Twisted Colossus. So check this recipe. RMC, racing coaster, Mobius loop. There you go. That's a winner every single time. And for their first go-around with that formula, what an absolute gem. This is so good. Number 13, Goliath. Now, I did tease a little bit and say that Mako was the best hyper in America, but I say the best modern hyper in America. I find Goliath to be the perfect blend between Intamin design technology from the old Giovanola contracting days and modern B&M architecture and engineering. Goliath, absolute banger. Best finale ever. Number 12, Boulder Dash. This ride, guys, this has a special place in my heart. This ride was conceptualized based off of Rollercoaster, a kid's wooden coaster built on the mountainside in Idlewild Park in Ligonier, Pennsylvania. And to get to go and ride the adult version, man, full circle moment, absolute classic, great night ride. Number 11, Thunderhead at Dollywood. And guys, not only is Pigeon Forge beautiful, and Dollywood as a whole, just beautiful, but Thunderhead is at a place in the park that gives you such pristine views of the Smoky Mountains, and you're riding one of the best wooden roller coasters in the world. Moving on to number 10, we are at my home park of Kennywood for our absolute classic, Phantom's Revenge, formerly the Steel Phantom. But this iteration is just amazing. Year in and year out, it just keeps getting better. Kudos to the Kennywood maintenance team, and quite frankly, kudos to park management for keeping running this thing in insane mode year in and year out. Those bunny hills at the end, that ejector time, it is borderline criminal. This ride tries to kill you, and it's amazing. Number 9, we are back at Six Flags Great America in Gurnee, Illinois for another 3,000 feet of track roller coaster, Goliath. So I'm not sure what it is about 3,000 feet of track between Phantom's Revenge and Goliath, but these two coasters have a place in my heart that will never die. In my opinion, for my money, this is the best wooden roller coaster in America. It has the best first drop, even better than El Toro, I would contend. And additionally, that stall is the best stall of any ride in the world. Period. End of discussion. Number 8, Maverick at Cedar Point, the roller coaster capital of the world. Guys, Maverick is arguably one of the most important coasters ever built. Not just by Intamin, but by anybody. It was the ride that ended the coaster wars. And its place in history cannot be overstated. And it doesn't hurt that the ride is absolutely sick. Number 7, Wildcats Revenge. We are back in my home state of Pennsylvania to the sweetest place on earth for number 7. And Wildcats Revenge, I think, surprised everybody with how great it is. Many folks that have ridden both compare it maybe to being like a mini Zadra. Now, not having ridden Zadra, I cannot, agree or disagree. But what I can say is I've heard it multiple times. And that's got to be good for this ride, especially considering how highly ranked people have Zadra. Now, that being said, Wildcats Revenge is a banger. But we're staying at the sweetest place on earth for number 6. And arguably one of the best things Intamin ever accidentally built, Sky Rush at Hershey Park. Guys, this is a Intamin wing coaster, but not in the same sense that a B&M wing is a wing. This is more of, I don't know, a glider wing? I jokingly say that, but it's not the same feel as a B&M. This is significantly more intense. You are much lower and tighter and closer to the track, which adds to all of the elements' intensity. Absolute banger of a ride. Number 5, we are back in Missouri for Time Traveler. And this Mach Rides Extreme Spinner, it blew me away the first time I rode it. And to this day, the last time I rode it a month ago, it blew me away again. What an unbelievable ride, start to finish. It's kind of lost a little bit of its luster since Ride to Happiness opened, but I really don't get that because this is the only one in America, and for some reason, it does not get talked about nearly enough. Elementally, this is a very creative layout and just an amazing coaster. But number 4, we're back to Intamin, we're back in Florida, back at Islands of Adventure for Velocicoaster. And this thing is just insane. It's one of the best rides to ever be built. And that is a tough thing to argue. The theming of this ride in itself is A+. And then to deliver with the ride quality that Intamin was able to deliver with this unbelievable multi-launch layout, I mean, it is a true thing of beauty. And this Mosasaurus roll right here, breathtaking. Moving on to number 3, Iron Gwazi. Quite simply, again, one of the best roller coasters ever built. Guys, I truly believe that once you get into this top maybe 25 or 30, you could make an argument for any one of these being your number 1 roller coaster in the world. That is how hyper elite these are. And Iron Gwazi is just such an intense experience. But number 2, last year's number 1, ArieForce One. The amazing RMC ground up at Funtime America, located in Atlanta, Georgia. Put some respect on his name. What a great ride. This design language by Joe Draves is an absolute masterpiece. It quite possibly could be the best layout design of any RMC that's ever been built. At least in my opinion, it is. Everything flows so seamless and perfect, and yet it doesn't feel like any other RMC after that first drop. They mix it up so well, and that finale, absolutely insane. But number 1, Pantheon, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. That's right, guys, Pantheon. Now, let me jump on my soapbox for just a minute. I actually think my love for Pantheon has grown with everyone else's hatred for its theming. For some reason, we live in a world where people believe that they would rather have a wonderfully themed coaster that's mid, opposed to having an amazing coaster with no theming. And I am here to tell you, please reconsider that thought process. Now, I'm not saying don't theme rides, and I really would enjoy Pantheon more if it were themed, but the bottom line is, this is the most complete ride in America. Elementally, and with design language and layout, you do not get a more creative, more all-inclusive ride than Pantheon. That backwards ejector time on the backwards launch is insanity. The spike is perfectly height. And quite frankly, that downward stall is incredible. Pantheon is by far the most complete ride in America, maybe the most complete ride in the world. I don't know. But I do know that I want to hear your opinion, and I want to know what you think, not just about Pantheon, but about the rest of my top 52 list. Also, keep a lookout for the YouTube shorts where I'm going to do a 60-second review of each of these 52 coasters over the coming months. And in addition, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notification bell so that you can be kept up to date of any new uploads from the channel, including the podcast, The Park After Dark. And until next time, guys, this is Clay with the Pennsylvania Roller Coaster Club, and we'll see you out there. Now, as a quick postscript, maybe check out these videos here. This one for the Park After Dark podcast, or this one here for my new series, The Baker's Dozen, where we look at any particular category and we rank the top 13 of that category.